Hey, what's up everybody? In this video we're going to take a look at how we can remove the seat cushion here and maybe reupholster with some new leather. The seat is pretty nasty. You've got some tears and cracks in there. So this leather's shot. I'm going to replace it with a new piece and let's try and find out how to do this. Now I just sat myself down in a normal chair, turned this upside down and it's leaning on me. The headrest is lying on the floor, so I've got a comfortable working position. We've got to do a couple of things to get the seat cover off. First we have these plastic clips here. In this case you have to pry this little security bar out, and then you really need to kind of like get your screwdriver in there and pry them out, right? And they're in quite good, so you really do need to apply a bit of force there, and the other one comes out just the same way. I've loosened that one up. And the other thing is here on the side we have the seat controls. This is for the height. So this plastic is prohibiting this mechanism from coming off. So that needs a Torx socket right there, which is unusual. I do have Allen keys. They probably will fit in there. So I'm going to check out in a moment if that works. And then we'll take this off. So the Allen keys didn't work. I tried a 3 and a 2.5. We're slipping. I found this electrical tester screwdriver which just about fits in here and gets traction. I do have to kind of push it. It slips sometimes, but hey, what do I care? It actually does work. And out comes the Torx screw. I've put the chair back down on the floor so that's a bit more secure for me. Make sure if you have tiles you use a carpeted area so you don't scratch up. But once that Torx is removed, this plastic panel will come loose like that, and we can just lift the seat out. Take some care. There is a just a wire harness here. Just pop that out so it doesn't rip off, and then these springs will fall out as you move it. And then what we can do is just pull it out, and there we go. The seat cover has come loose. Now let's try and see if we can get this leather off and then cut a new piece to reupholster that. So there's a couple of ways of doing this, I hope. Now I can see the leather is kind of one piece glued on and tacked into the sides here. So it's going to be kind of tough to take out. That's my first option, because then I can cut this piece out nice and easily and sew in a new piece. Failing that, from my motorbike repairs I have a black piece of leather like so. So we can try to stitch that on from the top. If we wanted to, you can do that by making a seam on the side and then attaching it, measuring it out. Or what you can do, which is maybe the laziest option, you double fold here and then you make a seam with red yarn, or you color match with this, and you make that in the shape of the seat, and then we can sandpaper this area up, attach some glue and glue that perfectly in place. That's another option of restoration that we can use. Now I'm going to attempt, of course, having the most perfect option first, getting the leather stitched in, but that might not work. So let's see how we get on. So I was able to pry out the leather from the seat here. Actually, this whole thing is just one piece, it doesn't come out, but what you can see, this is all tucked in this little narrow rail just here. And if you go in there with a flathead screwdriver, you can just pry this out. Now, it gets even tighter along these edges here, and it's secured in place here. For our repair purposes, we really just need these edges here, because then we can start opening up the thread and disconnecting this red center piece. And then we'll do that, turning it around and following along these sides here, which should give us a pretty good result without having to take all of this apart. So that sounds good. It means I don't have to glue, and we can get some stitches and seams going in here. All right, let's do this. All right, so that's working quite nicely. We've been able to cut this open here. So we're going to follow this along, just very gently cutting and removing the center leather piece. Now what I've noticed actually, which is interesting, there's a little cardboard here which is secured with these steel clamps. We're going to cut along this edge because I don't want to damage the cardboard. I'll need that to stuff the seat back in once we've got that stitched up. So I'll stitch the black leather over that. So let me just go around the seat and remove these stitches, and I'll show you how that looks like. And there we go, this piece has come loose. So this is cut in shape. I'll leave a little red stripe here just to remind myself that this used to be a red seat. So this old piece that we cut off, don't throw that away yet, because we need to be cutting out a new piece, and this will be the shape that we use. With the new piece, you want to be leaving a bit more space at this side, that side, around the edges, because what we'll do, we'll probably try to make a center seam like this, and then I want to fold over the edges of the other piece and then stitch them in like that, so you get a nice smooth, clean looking stitch. Okay, so it's time for us now to cut out the new piece. Alright, so there we are, cut a roughly fitting piece. So the next thing I want to do is get the center seam stitched in. So I've actually been able to remove all the material from the seat there and remove it. And it turns out I have a tailor next door, and he's charging me about 40 bucks to get that center piece stitched in with a nice French seam and a seam down the middle. And he's going to do a nice and clean job. Now I went online because I don't have a sewing machine, I didn't have the threads, didn't even have the right needles to do a saddle stitch, because you can actually do that by hand, stitching it right back in. It's called a saddle stitch. You can check YouTube, there's plenty of videos on how to do saddle stitching, which is what I was going to do, but given that it was going to cost me just round about the same as having it done, I just decided, hey, let's have it done. So I'm going to wait for the guy to finish, should be a day or two when I get it back, and then I'll start reupholstering this and we'll put the seat back. So on the back side here, this is flipped upside down. We have these rails where these cardboard bits that are stitched into the side, they need to be put in like so. So I've started off here already. It's a bit of a finicky job, but what you do is you turn them around and then you stick them in like this and just force them all the way down, and you do that right across the entire seat. So also there are these two little flaps here, there's a hole and there's a little pin. You need to stretch this all the way across and secure this hole. Once you've done that, that's the first thing you do. Then you do the back edge, so you have some play, so you can do that easily. You'll need some sort of tool to actually stuff the edges a little bit as well. A screwdriver will be just fine, and then you continue with the other ones. So let me just finish that up, and then we turn the seat around. So I've been able to insert all the material across the rail using a tiny little screwdriver, just like that. That's looking good, it's a good fit. The new material here is a bit thicker, a bit more flexible, so we'll have to staple it to the front sides here so this doesn't come out. I have a hand stapler, and I'll be stapling along this edge just right here, like so. Just a couple of staples just on the low side so you don't see them. Alright, and there we are, some staples just across here so this doesn't pop out. Now, if you're afraid that you'll see these, you can take a black marker pen, acrylic, whatever, and just color those black a little bit. Like so. And they're just a little bit less shiny and, you know, easier on the eye if you're afraid that you'll see these. Now, my staple gun wasn't very good. As you can see here, I have a lot of wastage. But okay, it does the job, so I'm pretty happy with this. So now what we'll do, we'll start reassembling this, and then we'll mount it back in the car and see how that looks. Now there's those springs right there at the back. They go in between the seat plastic and that little crossbar there. Make sure you get those in. They're a bit tricky to get, but remember they're there. So there's one here, one there. And there we are. That's those two back in place again. You just reach through with your hand here and just fiddle them in. Like I said, it's fiddly, but it's manageable. And then you have a bit of spring back in your seat. But let's take a look at the first result. Alright, this is not bad. No more rips, no more tears. Cheap reupholstery of the seat. Done. So I'll turn this around, clamp it back together, and it can go back into the car. So we've put this side plastic back in. We've refitted that torque screw over there and put the clamps back on the seat. And now we're ready to put that in the car. And there we go. We've mounted the seat back into the car. And it's actually looking pretty good. Glad I didn't just glue that. Having the center seam there makes it look a little bit more original. So that looks really cool. So if you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share, leave a comment. Thanks.